Regulars here for everybody. We can't wait. We got a ton of guests on deck, and this is one of our favorite weeks of the year. So let's get right into it.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. We are here live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 60. Connor Rodgers alongside Lawrence Jackson, a very spiffy Jay Croucher. Outdressed the room.
Yeah.
Matthew Berry as usual.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, feeling good, looking good. That shot at the beginning of the show of the Golden Gate Bridge, so beautiful, so majestic.
Know what you're gonna say.
Right. I kept waiting for the Full House theme song to start.
Exactly what I was
very similar.
It's just, you know,
we might have stolen
so
it
iconic.
from there.
Probably did.
Yeah,
probably did.
Smooth trip,
Absolutely.
Matthew?
Yeah, very honestly, very smooth trip. I was nervous with all the weather flying from the East Coast, obviously out here, but yeah, lovely trip. Had a great time. Did some reading, some research about the big game.
Is that right? What'd you learn?
Getting up to speed. Turns out the Seahawks are playing the Patriots, and they played before in the Super Bowl.
That's
Who
right.
knew?
Yeah.
That's right.
I uncovered that little nugget. Yeah.
Can we address breakfast this morning, where Matthew was late to the table?
Matthew didn't get any.
Wasn't invited.
To be fair,
I'll give him the pass here.
I was not actually invited. I had
Neither
the
were
same kind of pathway as you to the breakfast, where it was those two and Rotopat, and I just kind of snuck in. But we'll talk about the contents of what were consumed. So I had like oatmeal, some fruits, kind of get myself ready. You guys ate as though you're preparing to race in Daytona 500s with all the grease. What the hell was that?
Hey,
we
How
ran
do you
on
guys
diesel.
function as human beings?
Got to fuel up, man. Got to stay
Unbelievable.
That's exactly right. It's the most important meal of the day.
It might be the only meal of the day.
because Jay and I weren't invited somehow. That Connor and Lawrence and Rotopat just had to have breakfast without me or Jay or producer Damien. So I just wandered in on my own, and but so I was a little late. We only had like a half hour before we had to leave to come here for you beautiful people. So I got the buffet, and listen. At those hotel buffets, the key there is volume, because that's how they get you.
It's a volume game.
Yeah.
Super Bowl week's all about factions. Me, Lawrence, and Rotopat have decided we
You guys are a wolf
we
pack?
trust one another.
Yeah.
We won't leave each other. We'll
I
have
gotta
breakfast
say,
together.
The image won't leave me anytime soon of Matthew Berry walking into a buffet, also holding like a giant microphone in your hand as you walk into a breakfast
like he
table.
was
Very
live
weird.
podcast.
You ready to do content at breakfast?
But it wasn't plugged into anything. Very
Never know
disturbing.
when a show's going to break out.
Oh, man, it's going to be a fun
I'm
week
always
here,
prepared.
if you can't tell already. We do have a ton of guests planned, but today, you're stuck with us four. We're going to go through free agency for the quarterbacks, for the running backs, and, of course, we'll end with last call, looking at some betting markets, as we always do. So let's get right into it, fellas. Let's get into the Rotoworld Player news, because it's been the final wave of coaching hires. Head coaching hires, key coordinator hires as well. The Cardinals have finally found their next head coach. It will be Mike LaFleur, formerly the offensive coordinator with the New York Jets, most recently the offensive coordinator under Sean McVay with the Rams. This is the sixth straight Arizona head coaching hire with no previous permanent NFL head coaching experience. So familiar road that Arizona goes down again, Matthew.
It is, but look, what's been the biggest issue for Arizona over the last number of years? Quarterback, right? They haven't been able to figure out quarterback. And so the big question is, with Mike LaFleur, is he there to fix Kyler Murray? Is he there to, use Jacoby Brissett as a bridge to the next round? Or is he there to draft somebody and develop somebody? This is somebody, obviously you're familiar with him from his time with the Jets there, but you think about, he's from the McVay tree. He's from the Kyle Shanahan tree. This is a guy that was also part of he was the San Francisco 49ers passing game coordinator for a number of years. Obviously the brother to Matt LaFleur. He is part of that. He is close with Kyle and McVay and obviously his brother. So he's from that tree. So you would expect a good offense. And for all of the challenges that the Cardinals have as a franchise, offensively, they've been able to move the ball. They have some pieces there. This is a better job than I think. Again, we can talk about ownership and their support there, but feels like in terms of a lot of times when you're taking a job, there's not a lot of talent around. There's the exceptions, the Bills of the world, but for the most part, but the Cardinals, for a team that didn't do that well this year, there's some pieces on defense and there's some pieces on offense. They just need to figure out the quarterback, and I assume that's what Coach LaFleur is there to do.
Yep. Firstly, I notice everyone else is wearing beige. I don't know what's going on with this. You guys look all exactly the same.
I actually noticed that. I just was never going to say something, but I could always count
the regulars
on Jay
are all
Crouch.
over it.
Very troubling. Secondly, Lawrence, it feels like
I wear what's put in my closet. I have no thought
You
process.
actually, that's a good out for you. You don't dress yourself.
I don't dress myself.
Matthew hasn't dressed.
Not at home, not on the air. My wife has to lay it out for me. Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for other people in my life, I would be walking around like in sweats and boxers.
Yeah. There was a brief period, ages 13 to 36, where you did dress yourself, but the surrounding years on both sides, you did not dress yourself. Lawrence, it feels like the Cardinals, their quarterback situation is maybe the least clarified in the whole league. It's like we're still Jacoby Brissett. We're going to do this again.
Yeah, remember Jacoby Brissett completed 47 passes in a game. That's the NFL record, and I think even down the line, from a fantasy perspective, we're going to have to know what their plan is at the quarterback position. If you're sticking with Kyler Murray, the picture is clear. But if you come in and you, as a new coach, and want a new quarterback, that's going to be big. Is it a young guy? Is it a bridge? Like you said, Matthew, Jacoby Brissett, that's going to shape the fantasy landscape for the team, because we know Trey McBride, he's quarterback proof, right? It's those other positions that we're going to have to worry about going forward.
I like Mike LaFleur's aesthetic, by the way. Kind of a strong draw. He looks like Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea meets Sith Lord. He's just kind of some darkness going on there, but it's good.
The other big question is, I would love to be in on those meetings, because it's hey man, does Coach LaFleur, is he we're moving on from Kyler, right? Or, hey, I can fix Kyler. Or, and the other part is, what do we do with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson, right? So, is Michael Wilson just a product of great, negative game script and a quarterback that was focused on just getting him the ball because MHJ was out? Or is this hey, this is a kid that was a third-round pick? Again, Connor, you and I have talked about this. As somebody who's interviewed Michael Wilson, he's a great kid. He is just an awesome, awesome human being, very bright, and so I would think very coachable. And so you saw wow, maybe this is kind of a third-year breakout that we talked about.
I think it's closer to that, Matthew, because Jacoby Brissett, he played a lot of this season, and Marvin Harrison played in some of those games too, and he didn't quite have the blow-up games that Michael Wilson had, 185 yards in the game. It wasn't a mistake, and if you thought it was, he came back and put up 150, so I think that the talent is really there.
Could you guys see a scenario where, if they believe in Michael Wilson, and they obviously, what they have in McBride, could you see them try to trade Marvin Harrison Jr.? This is a team that has a lot of needs, and could they get some picks for MHJ?
I wouldn't be shocked by that kind of move. Is it a situation where, hey, we still believe in this guy's talent, but we're going to invest in the roster elsewhere, right, of Arizona, because they do? And you're going to have to make a decision on Michael Wilson soon. He's entering a contract year. So, because he wasn't a first-round pick, so you don't have the fifth-year option on him.
Correct.
So you're going to have to decide, do we want to pay this guy? Because somebody else will. That's what it comes down to. So I think from a fantasy angle, this is good news, because LaFleur, who didn't call plays with the Rams but did a lot of good things there, he did call plays with the Jets. And when he called plays for any non-Zach Wilson quarterback, the Jets offense moved the ball really, really well. He was creative. So if you're looking for an optimistic hire from a fantasy angle, I think this was as good as Arizona could have done.
I completely agree with you, and I also think it's going to be one of the teams that's going to be under the radar a little bit, but fascinating to watch in the offseason, because we talked about the quarterback, we talked about Marvin Harrison Jr., and also the running back, James Conner, who has always been so effective, but bad injury, a little bit older. What do they do with Trey Benson, another injury? So what do they do with the running back position? They've always been able to run the ball, at least, over the last handful of years. And obviously coming from a Shanahan-McVay system, running the ball is so important to set up the passing game. So Cardinals are a fascinating team, but I agree with you, Connor, that from a fantasy football perspective, I think we're happy with the hire of Mike LaFleur.
And maybe the same can be said for the potential hire of Klint Kubiak to the Raiders. Not official yet, because Klint Kubiak, he has an important job for the Super Bowl, obviously running the Seahawks offense, and does call plays for the Seahawks offense. But this one expected to get done here, Jay. And obviously Kubiak was one of the biggest riser type play caller names this season, where there wasn't a ton of guys like this on the market in this coaching cycle.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of a tell how infatuated Tom Brady was with Klint Kubiak on the call of Rams Seahawks. Rightfully so, he called a great game there. I think it's perhaps a little bit lost that I don't think there's like an immense amount of talent on the Seattle offense, like relative to a team that is now in the Super Bowl. Like the offensive line is very shaky coming into the year. JSN is perhaps the best receiver in football, but outside of that, Ken Walker is constantly dealing with injuries. Sam Darnold obviously has extreme strengths and weaknesses, but Kubiak, the fact that he's been able to devise this offense around Darnold's strengths, also the fact that we kind of forget that the New Orleans Saints looked like the best team in the world for 2 weeks last year before their offensive line, everything just collapsed. So I think that Kubiak, he's proven himself. He comes from, the Shanahan tree naturally, and he'll have a chance to be a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator going into this job. But yeah, I think it's pretty exciting pairing him with very likely Fernando Mendoza.
And that's the most important talking point, Lawrence, is that his job, his biggest goal will be to make sure Mendoza undergoes the right development as the #1 overall pick, with an offense that had a really, really rough year.
For sure, and I think the reason why Klint Kubiak is in this position and is looked at as probably the top candidate during this coaching cycle is because he's gotten the best out of Sam Darnold.
Right.
We saw Sam Darnold be pretty damn good last season. He faltered during the end of the season, but now Sam Darnold got over that hump, played his best game of his career with Matthew Stafford on the other side, coming right back at him. That's hard to do. So in knowing that, if you're the Raiders, you got to feel confident knowing that, hey, if we're going to have a rookie quarterback #1 overall, this is the guy that we feel could get the best out of him early.
Well, but also the other thing about Kubiak is talked about, right? Like he's so good at like play action and using his running back, and so when you go to a team that doesn't have a lot but does have Ashton Genty, so how can he use Ashton Genty to set up Fernando Mendoza for success? Bowers obviously as well. They're going to need some help, but again, Kubiak, who when he took the job at Seattle, he took the job thinking he was coming there with Geno Smith. Like, he took the job before they made the if I have my timing correct, I believe he was there prior to Geno moving on and then signing Sam Darnold.
Because Geno got traded during free agency in March.
Yeah, so and so sort of kind of like, okay, let me switch gears a little bit, but to your point, like the job he's done with Sam Darnold, everyone knows Mike McDonald, defensive side of the ball as a head coach. So, congratulations to Klint Kubiak, and it's so interesting, right? We talk about sort of here's Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt LaFleur. Now here's Klint Kubiak, his father Gary Kubiak, obviously, one of the former NFL quarterback, longtime offense coordinator and head coach in the NFL. So another one from like NFL. NFL royalty, if you will. Jay, do me a favor. Just turn to Connor and just say this in a somber tone. I'm sorry for your loss. Can you just try that for me?
I'm sorry for your loss, Connor.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a kind of a funeral director look to him, don't you think?
You really do.
I mean,
wow.
Or how about
you're
try
one
this?
shade with the Navy.
I thought it looked okay.
No, but it's a very funeral directory. Or here's another one.
Okay.
Do me a favor. Turn to Lawrence and just say, don't worry. I will bring back John Wick.
yeah. Don't worry, Lawrence. John Wick's coming home.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't wear this look when we interviewed Damar Hamlin on Wednesday.
I'm just saying, you look like the third bad guy in a John Wick movie.
Yeah, I'll take that.
You look like.
I was hoping for John Wick himself.
Yeah,
no,
you
not quite.
You look like ready. You look like you're ready to walk into a private equity company and talk about some M&A.
I like a little private equity in the morning.
Yeah,
sure.
He also goes like briefcase style for his whatever he brings, laptop, iPad.
Yeah.
I'm still in book bag mode, like a 16-year-old, but Jay like really looks professional.
He really does, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, you've been wearing the same outfit for 4 years, so someone's got to change it up.
It works for me. It works for me. Talk to wardrobe, too. Talk to NBC Wardrobe.
Like, thank God we found something. Every color.
I say, don't ever go away.
I don't think you understand how hard it is to make me look presentable for television. God bless the NBC Wardrobe department. Do you understand the challenges that team has? To find anything that makes me look semi-presentable, God bless them, I say.
One more
head
coaching hire to break down here, guys. A bit of a surprise. The Browns go with Todd Monken, most recently Lamar Jackson's offensive coordinator with the Ravens here. So, Jay, a team that We don't know what the future of quarterback is going to be. We saw Shedeur Sanders already meet with Todd Monken. Goes with a surprise offensive hire. There was a lot of noise for the younger guys in this coaching cycle, along with Jim Schwartz.
Yep.
This one feels like it came out of nowhere a little bit.
A little bit. Did this feel to you kind of like this is the NFL head coaching job that was the least wanted by the field?
It's a good question.
Actually, I can't remember. We got people pulling
By
out.
the end of the cycle,
Yeah.
it felt a little scary.
Yeah.
Because as you were looking around, they were interviewing, Udinsky and all these younger guys. It's like, there's some promise here, and maybe that'll get more out of.
But even these guys like Udinsky was like, I'll take the Bills head coaching job, but if I don't get that, then I'm going to stay and be an OC.
Yeah.
I always thought that it was just going to be Jim Schwartz. Clearly he felt
thought
like
so
that.
too. Yeah.
And so, bad offensive roster aside, I feel like they feel like they had their guy, and then just like boom. In fact, I would have felt like it would have seemed more like expected if Todd Monken would have went over there as the offensive coordinator,
right?
Yep.
And then you brought and then you had Jim Schwartz become the head coach. But yeah, definitely a shot there.
How do you think Connor he pairs with Sanders if Sanders is going to be the starter?
It's interesting because Monken is a guy that he's obsessed with, creating explosive plays. So, and Shedeur will take chances. Shedor's not afraid to throw the ball down the field. So this team really needs a number one wide receiver. I'd feel a lot better about if they go get a number one in the draft with Harold Fannin, with the run game with Judkins.
Yeah.
But for the Browns, you shouldn't reach on a quarterback in this draft just to reach on a quarterback. Are you going to go get a veteran in camp to pair with Shedeur? Maybe. I don't know what they think of Dylan Gabriel.
No.
I like Todd
you said.
Monken as an offensive mind a lot.
Like you said, get the receiver and get the tackle in
line needs
both in that first round.
They have a receiver. His name's Cedric Tillman.
Don't you forget it.
Another one. Don't you
Another
forget
one to
it.
be like
Another.
the second fiddle.
Yeah.
But
Isaiah Bond.
You look at Todd Monken. You even go back to his days at UGA, and this speaks to Harold Fannin.
Yes, thank you. That's where I was going.
He coached Brock Bowers.
Right.
He had Andrews and Isaiah Likely. You see what he did with Stetson Bennett. I'm not going to use what Todd Monken did with Lamar because Lamar's Lamar, but when you see what he did with Stetson Bennett and Koch got him drafted, that's more so the comparison
I like that.
you should try to make there. But Todd Monken, MVP season with Lamar, another close to MVP. So, like, for Shedeur and possibly Deshaun Watson, I feel like there's a chance he could get a shot if things don't go.
Well,
but
I almost forgot about it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Like, hey, at the end of the day, you got a good play caller.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you're right. If you're a dynasty manager that has Harold Fannin, if you have, Quinshon Judkins, I think you're happy about this hire. Do I think he's as good as Kevin Stefanski? No, I mean, and I think that's part of the problem NFL-wise, is talk about this is like, why was this job not interesting? Like, they got rid of Kevin Stefanski, two-time head coach of the year. Not a lot of people know that, but he's actually won that award 2 times. And so they got rid of that guy who, I thought did a lot with not a lot to work with. And so I think it was because of some ownership. And the other thing is you're still dealing with the Deshaun Watson contract and all that hangover. Like, this is unfair to Todd Monken, who I agree with you is a good play caller, but almost feels like he's a placeholder coach. That, like, they're just like, we're going to give him 2 years.
Could be.
We're going to give him 2 years. We got to get out of Deshaun, and then we can, like,
Build
if things
the
don't work
roster
out,
up.
then, like, no one's going to be upset if we fire Todd Monken. You know what I mean? Like, if we make some big splash and bring in some, big name college coach or something like that, then they're going to get mad. But, like, Todd Monken is just sort of like, all right.
Kind of reminds me when, like, the Panthers hired Frank Reich. It's like, is he really going to be there in 4 years? Doesn't really feel that this is the long term. But who knows? Maybe we'll see.
All right.
So the Watson thing is fascinating. That's a great call. I wonder if they think he can potentially fix him. But absent Stefanski staying, I think Monken, for our purposes, Monken should be able to get something out of the players that we care about. It just depends on sort of who the quarterback is. To me, the most shocking head coaching hire, and not because he can't coach, but just because of how it all went down, is Joe Brady. So ownership of the Bills complains about coaching. They fire Sean McDermott, where on a team where the defense has played pretty well. It hasn't been able to get over the hump, but
secondary is very good.
Secondary is very good. Sean McDermott's had double-digit win seasons pretty much every year that he's been there. but the complaint was the coaching, that they felt like the roster was there. I don't know that I agree with that, but the ownership felt like the roster was there and the coaching couldn't get there. So they fired Sean McDermott to keep the same coach. No, this is good news for us because Josh Allen is Josh Allen, James Cook is James Cook.
Right.
We expect those two guys to continue to be fantasy superstars, but this one was a head scratcher.
It to me just screams, Lawrence, I just wanted a new voice.
Yeah.
That's like, because you went and you got Jim Leonard to be your DC, which is a great hire. Now, I think people are starting to underrate Sean McDermott as a defensive mind. It's not his fault. Their front didn't have a lot of talent and gave up a lot of rushing yards, but good secondary, well coached. But they wanted a new voice. But they also, clearly, with the quarterback's influence, did not want to break the mold of what they currently have on offense.
Right. I mean, be it as it may, you got a good thing going on offense with Josh Allen. It's just they can't get to the Super Bowl, but it's like you said, like just a new voice. I feel very similar about this than with John Harbaugh in the Ravens. In fact, Sean McDermott, since he was hired as the Bills head coach, he'd been better than John Harbaugh overall record and playoff-wise. So, that's kind of more of a head scratcher to me because it seemed like there was more outrage when John Harbaugh lost his job. But I would say the same thing for Sean McDermott. Like, at least with Sean McDermott, you're in the mix, and that's not something the Bills usually were before he arrived.
Josh Allen said at his press conference, he's like, if I don't fumble the fourth time, you know what I mean? Like, we're probably playing in the Super Bowl, and Sean McDermott still has a job.
Yeah, I think that's just this natural.
By the way, and if the Brandon Cooks, the Brandon Cooks pass interference, non-call or whatever, interception, like if that call goes the other way, which a lot of people think it should have and easily could have when you see like the Javonte Adams play against Chicago, the whole thing, like if that play goes the other way, Sean McDermott probably still has a job. Like it's crazy that they just.
Yeah, it works. It's just like John Harbaugh. If they make the kick, but the owner said he was like next week. So as long as they were winning, he was gonna have his job.
Yeah. I think that there's just a natural amount of pressure where if you've had Josh Allen and you've been there for 8 years and you need to make the Super Bowl, like you only get so many cracks out of it, and even if it wasn't necessarily his fault this time around. Well, I just want to say, really tough week for feet. Because Josh Allen apparently was playing with a broken foot and had that game that he did against the Jags where he basically played a perfect game of quarterback with a broken foot. So apparently feet don't matter a great deal. But Josh Allen, hopefully, as we see him here on crutches, having surgery, looks like he'll be fine for the start of the season. But yeah, just further proof that this guy is Wolverine and he'll play through anything.
It is really remarkable. And he was at the press conference and confirmed that he did have foot surgery, which is in shocking seeing on crutches here. But unbelievable the fact of how he played through it. Some notable coordinator hires, specifically on the offensive side of the ball here. Really good news for Cam Ward. Brian Dable will be running Robert Saleh's Titans offense, Matthew. I think that we've seen Dable's work with multiple young quarterbacks over the years, and obviously we know how much the Giants liked him before that draft, so not shocking to see Dable take this job.
No, and I think, look, like if you're a dynasty manager with Cam Ward, I think you're happy about this hire because we've not only seen Dable have success with young, inconsistent quarterbacks, Daniel Jones, developing Jackson Dart, but the types of quarterbacks he's developed, Josh Allen, duh.
Right.
That's a big one.
But people forget how raw Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming, right? Big physical guy that could run a ton, but like crazy inaccurate,
right?
And sort of all over the place. And so, Josh Allen to Daniel Jones to Jackson Dart, and now you've got Cam Ward who has some similar traits, right? Somebody who is mobile that can move outside the pocket. There's obviously a lot of skill there with Cam Ward. So I think two former New York coaches reuniting in Tennessee.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll meet you in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think Connor just comes like they need to get Ward a receiver because if he doesn't have anyone who can separate, like it wasn't a good year for Cam Ward overall. He showed flashes. He seems to, he has these plays of madness where he holds onto the ball too long. The stats were bad and everything, but it's just so hard to evaluate him with that coaching situation, with the lack of a receiver. Now that you have Dable in there, O-line gets a year older with some young talent there. Saleh, professional head coach, Dable, professional offensive coordinator. Yes. Get him a receiver, and then you can properly evaluate him.
I completely agree. I think things will go really well for Tennessee, depending on the personnel moves they can make. And they have all the money in the world. I think they have the most cap space in the NFL. Yeah. Do you go make a play for Alec Pierce or somebody along that line? Some rumors might be around here this week.
Yeah.
Excited for that.
Very excited.
We know a lot about Brian Dable's work on the offensive side of the ball. We don't know a lot about the Eagles' new offensive coordinator as a coach, Lawrence. We know Sean Mannion as a player.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a key thing here. Getting someone in the room with Jalen Hurts who's actually played the position. You know, the Eagles' offensive coordinator job. Always the big talk. It's like, do people want to go here? Because if it doesn't go right, you're going to get blamed. Or the offense could be too good, and then you'll go get a head coaching job. Kellen Moore. What's my man's name on the Colts now?
Shane Steichen.
Shane Steichen. So it's either way. So with Sean Mannion and Jalen Hurts, I don't think anybody's used to this type of turnover like Jalen Hurts. Had a new offensive coordinator every year going back to his days in college. So it's just going to be a wait and see. It's similar to Mike LaFleur, like didn't call the plays. Now he's in this new situation. So it's just a guy getting a chance, and he's going to have a lot of tools to work with.
It just seems like not a lot of people wanted this job. Now, I think to your point, right, it's a job that comes with intense scrutiny. It's a job that already has a run game coordinator that they really like. So it's basically you're coming in to basically do passing, right? Because now you've got somebody doing some of the running there. And, you know, in terms of, you know, the rumors about Jalen Hurts are that, like, he prefers a limited playbook, that it's not an expansive playbook, that they run versions of, like, you know, the same 10 plays, but just different things. And so how much is he going to get to do, or is it just sort of like, hey, this is what Jalen likes, this is what Jalen does. Oh, by the way, it works for the most part. I know there's been some inconsistencies there, but ultimately, like, you know, the Eagles have, you know, been one of the best teams in the NFL over the last 4 or 5 years, and so, you know, maybe it wasn't as attractive a job as you might think on the surface.
Yeah, I don't know the best way to frame it in terms of like a curve or a Venn diagram or whatever, but it's like it's the most talent we've ever had and the least appeal of taking the position as OC relative to that talent. Because, like, yeah, Jalen Hurts, he has his flaws. He's clearly a good quarterback, and this is clearly a super talented offense. And, yeah, you would think that there would be more prestigious names vying for this, but, you know, we'll see how Sean Mannion does.
Yeah, it's always where the bar is set, right, guys? Like, look at the Bills' job right now. Whether you love it or hate it, the Bills' bar is you better make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's a failed season because they have Josh Allen.
Right.
And Josh Allen is
same with the Ravens.
It's become that way with the Ravens. It's exactly right. The Steelers eventually got to a point where it doesn't matter how many times you make the playoffs. You got to start winning playoff games. The Eagles' offensive coordinator job is we need to be great, and we're expecting to get back to the Super Bowl. At least with Mannion, though, there's a little bit of a mystery box feel. Yeah. Where it's like there's a world where this ends up being great. We just haven't been able to see it.
Yeah, I think that that last play. Oh, we got a comment here. Sean Mannion looks like he holds the record for longest keg stand at his old frat.
Maybe he does.
He's a young guy. He was just in the league a couple years ago. So
all right, Stuntman Chuck. There we go.
Wow.
Postseason regulars. We appreciate
Good
that.
to see Stuntman Chuck back in the comments. We got Valiant Vincent out there. Neck Brace Nation, a favorite of Lawrence's.
Shout out to Neck Brace Nation out there.
All right, let's get into the quarterback free agents here, guys. Not a star-studded list here this year. We'll start with your man, Daniel Jones.
Yeah, how dare you say not star-studded? Daniel Jones had the greatest offense in all time for 8 weeks.
I stand corrected here. In points per game last year, QB 13 before that injury. Feels like the best option for both parties as he just goes back to the Colts.
I think so. And I think we forget because of how poorly the season ended for Indianapolis. But this was just statistically at least, an all-time efficient offense for the first 9 weeks or so of the season before it came crashing down. Now, a lot of that was perhaps natural regression. Defenses got harder. He was also playing for a couple of weeks with a broken leg. And then he does his Achilles against Jacksonville. But, yeah, I think obviously you'd expect a reduced version of Jones because he is very dependent on his mobility. But his ability to operate the Steichen offense, the fact that they're still going to have really good O-line, still going to have really good weapons. We'll see where Alec Pierce goes. But regardless, it does make sense that he would be back in Indy. And look, QB 13 with some injuries baked in there this year, you probably suspect that he goes as like a mid-second round quarterback.
He didn't do a lot of running this year.
He didn't. It
was like his best year.
Yeah. And, I mean, he got some tush pushes at the goal line, but not a ton because they ended up giving that work to JT, and Tyler Warren was kind of the push guy. But yeah, there's still upside for Jones, and he would be a guy who I think that if you're drafting in the later end of the second round, if he's going to come back for week 1, then there would be some appeal there.
Another name if he chooses to play, Aaron Rodgers. Matthew, maybe reunited, but probably not with Mike McCarthy.
I feel like if he does, well, here's the thing. I feel like if he plays, going back to Pittsburgh makes the most sense if he doesn't retire. Like,
I have a different opinion.
Really?
I feel like Minnesota makes the most sense.
Yeah, I like that.
But
trying to get
sure,
some of that
except,
Brett Favre
hang
magic.
I think that's where he wanted to be last year.
It is, but they didn't want him there.
No, they did not. But man,
now,
it looks
now
a lot
they do.
different now.
Now, it probably does. Although, there are. Here's my question. Like, and we'll get back into it, right? But there's a lot of quarterbacks that are not quote unquote free agents, but we expect or we think there's at least the potential of teams to move on from them. So if you're Kevin O'Connell, and they just fired the general manager, right? So I think Kevin O'Connor's going to have KOC is going to have a lot more influence over this roster and the draft moving forward. So, like, are the Vikings better off with a one-year rental in Aaron Rodgers, or are they better off with trying to fix Kyler Murray? They're better off with a reunion with Kirk Cousins because the Falcons might be moving on.
Trade for Mac Jones?
Yeah, Tua.
If you get a guy like Mac Jones, then you're going to play ball. If you bring in Aaron Rodgers, it's like you're going to keep J.J. McCarthy, and you still kind of feel that could work.
That's right.
If you get the old veteran,
I disagree. I think that if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, you were basically bailing on J.J. McCarthy. Like,
it's a fine line to walk.
I mean, it's because here's the thing: he sat out year one. You moved on from Sam Darnold in year two because you were like, 9 is our guy.
Right.
Sam Darnold's now at the Super Bowl. Doesn't look good after the struggles of J.J. McCarthy. And then a year after that, after you stick by him, right, and he struggles, he has all these struggles, then you go get Aaron Rodgers, who they could have had last year.
Yep.
Aaron wanted to go to Minnesota, and they were like, no, we're in on J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if anyone is not starting for the Vikings next year, that if anyone that not named J.J. McCarthy, it's them moving on from 9. Like,
the thing is though is you can't go into the season.
And going back to the Colts thing for going back to the Colts thing for the same thing. Like, if they bring back Daniel Jones, then you're just bailing on Anthony Richardson, which is fine.
Which I think they've done.
They've done.
Yeah.
But
Vikings, I don't think feel that way with McCarthy yet. We're just dangerously approaching.
But
we'll find out in a month or so.
But the other thing about Aaron Rodgers, though, is that, like, Mike McCarthy said all the right things at the press conference, but I don't think it ended that great with McCarthy and Rodgers in Green Bay. And it's like, this is me like mixing up my dates, but wasn't Hackett his offensive coordinator under McCarthy?
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean,
we can't do that again. Yeah.
No, but Aaron Rodgers' whole thing was just like, let me do whatever I want. Anyway,
we got a comment here from Ved. Which team would best suit for Danny Dimes outside of the Colts? Is it the Vikings?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but they're like a year too late, just like with Sam Darnold. But yeah, I would say it would be the Vikings. But like we just talked about, I don't think the Colts let that go. Like, they had a great first half of the season, played hurt a couple of those games, and then everything fell apart once they got to shuffling quarterbacks. So I can't see him leaving the Colts.
Maybe the most interesting free agent quarterback, guys, at least from an upside perspective, Lawrence, has to be Malik Willis. Because when we've seen Malik Willis play recently, his development has come such a long way. And if you're signing Malik Willis, you're signing him to be your starting quarterback
for sure. And if you look at this free agent crop, he's the guy that you're looking at. He's not a one-year guy. He's going to play a couple years, and we're going to see if he could be that guy we thought he was coming out of college. And what a change of scenery makes for some guys.
Right.
He got with a good team, got some good coaching. What I worry about though is if he goes to a team like a Miami, they're not a playoff. Like, what happens when he goes to a team that's not used to winning?
Yeah,
again.
I think there's a lot of push and pull here because one with Malik Willis, he looked fantastic when he was out there. He also did it against a Bears defense that gave up 42 points to the Niners, and then Brock Purdy after that scored 9 points in 8 quarters against the Seahawks defense. He did it against a Ravens pass defense that Aaron Rodgers absolutely torched without DK Metcalf in Week 18, and then he played for a little bit against the Giants. But the thing is, Connor, is that even within that and within the suspect defenses, it felt like he was making like next level throws.
And his ability ability out of structure, he's learned to play in structure when he needs to, but his ability outside of structure as a runner or a scrambler that throws the ball down the field, like that's why Malik Willis was once upon a time highly thought of as a prospect.
Yes, he was.
It didn't go the way, obviously he hoped for, but it's really turned. How about this from Mick Genuine, Willis to Arizona?
Hey, you keep
they
the
move on
receiver.
from Kyler,
Now, that's a spot that I would say, like, as opposed to my Miami type of team, if you get to Arizona, who, like you said earlier, Matthew, they were in a lot of these games. They were scoring a lot of points. Now you get a guy, similar skill set, keep the receivers, best tight end in the game. That's a situation you would like there.
Where Mike calls his brother and say, like, listen, here's a kid that, we got a guy, but absolutely. I mean, but the other question is, I think to your point there, Lawrence, like, right, if he goes to a good offensive system, great. And like, I feel like with Malik Willis, fantasy-wise, if he's a starter next year, he's going to be a sleeper. Connor, I know you already called it top 12 fantasy
12,
quarterback.
for sure.
Assuming Malik Willis is a starter next year, I agree with it as long as he's the starter. But I could feel professionally-wise, NFL-wise, he could be awesome. He could have kind of a resurgence. He could also be Justin Fields.
Or the health.
Right.
This is a guy that in a very short sample size is. He's not the biggest guy in the world, and he's a great runner.
Yep.
You worry about him staying
Tell you
healthy,
what,
too.
I'd love him on my Colts. Bit of more of an upside swing. As opposed like Daniel Jones, like high-ish floor, depending on the injury, pretty low ceiling. We know what Daniel Jones is.
Run that offense exactly like how Shane Steichen wanted, though. He takes what the defense gives him, and that's why he didn't have to run as much. So I think a guy like Malik Willis, Malik Willis will be more of a playmaker. And I think Shane Steichen wants that, just like here, you take that easy, which is what Richardson had trouble doing.
That's fair.
We briefly mentioned some of these guys, but not free agents, but highly likely trade cut candidates include Kyler Murray, Tua, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, and then Justin Fields. Is there anyone out here, Jay, as a reclamation project that is at least somewhat intriguing, where it's like they've been totally written off, they're not being even drafted in really 2 quarterback leagues, but hey, he ended up being a viable second quarterback?
I think the only one of these 5 guys that is compelling is still Kyler Murray, where Kyler is the #1 overall pick. He was the MVP favorite halfway into 2021. He has shown flashes. Now, it's been pretty bad for a while. The issue with Kyler, too, is that the deep ball just went away. The deep ball was such a big part of his game, and he was so efficient with it early on in his career, and then that has just fallen off. But I think there is enough there that he is interesting in a way that I just don't think Tua is. Geno, Kirk Cousins, we know what they are. Justin Fields, I think, has just failed at this point. So Kyler, I don't think it's going to work out, but there is at least some clay there to be molded.
Yeah, I would agree with that take, especially because, by the way, we've seen flashes of it. I mean, there was a time where, Kyler was in the running for the MVP.
Looked like a star.
Right,
Yeah.
He looked like a superstar. And so the other thing is he'll now be like two years removed from the ACL injury. And so I think having him maybe have more confidence in his ability to run and getting to a coach that might use that dual threat ability a little bit more, it just feels like there needs to be a change of scenery for Kyler Murray. Still, maybe I'm crazy, but I still think there's a chance that Tua could be again.
I was going to say, Matthew, of this list we're looking at, Kyler, Tua, Geno, Kirk Cousins, and Justin Fields, I say definitely Kyler Murray starting week 1, probably Tua for some team.
This is a guy that was a superstar at Alabama. He's had flashes. He's led his team to the playoffs. Like, Miami wasn't a great situation. He needs to be in the right situation. And do I think he'll ever be a fantasy superstar? I don't. But in a world in which people were writing off Bryce Young, and then he led his team to the playoffs, even though they backed in. But whatever. I mean, Bryce Young made significant strides here. Daniel Jones, people had written off Daniel Jones, and obviously he had a comeback year. You can't tell me that Tua Tagovailoa is just done. Like, he needs the right coach, the right system, the right people around him. I'm not saying but I'm not ready to say, like, there's just no way that Tua is ever a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL
top
again.
20 quarterback in the league. I think like top 10 is probably gone that world, but he could be a league average starter, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think. Especially after Matthew Stafford retires, there's going to be another chair open when Dak Prescott goes from the Cowboys to the the Rams, and then and then we'll see who's going to be the quarterback of the Cowboys.
NBC Sports Now is live from San Francisco all week with special guests. Tune in live from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time each each day, Monday to Friday, for the Dan Patrick Show, PFT Live, Chris Sims Unbuttoned, the Dan Levitard Show.
What is going on with Sims' face in this picture?
He looks surprised.
He looks surprised. He looks angry. He's just like, whoa, what are you accusing me of?
While you look like you have just seen the love of your life across the room.
I'm very happy.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Florio's just like, Florio looks like, hey, quick, Mike, look over here, I'll take your picture.
Yeah, that's right.
And Dan Patrick looks like, hey, this is a professional headshot.
NBCSports.com/now. We're going through the running backs when we return. It's legendary February at NBC and streaming on Peacock in just 4 days. Join the celebration as we kick off the Winter Olympics in Italy with the opening ceremony. And we are back live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 60. Let's continue the free agency chatter, of course, with the running backs here, guys. And the top of the list, Breece Hall. Still not even 25 years old. Potentially franchise tag this offseason.
What do you think happens with him?
I would think the favorite would be that they transition tag him.
Okay. So it'll be a New York Jet.
It would be a 1 year, $12 million deal back with the Jets.
Yes.
I mean, because wouldn't you just trade him at the deadline if that wasn't the plan?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
But
a well-run team would have done that.
We can never assume.
No.
So let's say the Jets don't tag him.
Yeah.
Where do we want him to go?
Do they have anyone on their roster that you think is potential that they
Isaiah
might
Davis
transition?
is a totally fine number 3 kick returner.
No,
Braylon
I
Allen
was that
was
they
hurt.
would use the transition or franchise tag on. That's what I'm saying. Is there another player?
Elijah Vera Tucker, their star but often injured
of course.
guard.
Yeah.
Who's going to be your quarterback?
You tell me. Could have been one of the guys we just talked about, like Kyler Murray.
Tua.
It's going to be Kirk Cousins.
If there's any place Tua should play, it's MetLife
Who do you want him
in
to
the
draft?
Northeast.
Who do you want him to draft? Given Mendoza's not going to be on an option.
I would be careful how early you take Ty Simpson.
Okay.
There's things I like about Ty Simpson,
Didn't
but
end great for Ty Simpson.
it did not end great.
Your man.
Yes.
I would almost
Roll Tide.
rather wait and see how late like Garrett Nussmeier goes.
Okay.
You can't manufacture a quarterback class.
Yep.
There's not one there at 2,
Right.
and there's not one there at 2. I think 16 would even be a reach.
Yep.
It's the
Yeah.
Jets. I hate to say it, but with where they are right now, it feels like they're on simulation mode after this year. Like
Yep.
I guess we'll see the plan,
Well,
but
that's-
what is the optimistic plan
That's
at
what
quarterback?
Brick has him doing.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
simulation mode.
That's right. He knows a thing or two about that.
They'll get Kirk Cousins.
Awesome.
Talking about Breece Hall, man, can we give him a quick round of
Can I
applause?
say
He's great.
something? I have a theory that I'd like to float the two of you.
Yeah. Is
I
Breece
don't
Hall going to
think-
retire? What's going on?
No.
Age 24 retiree.
Yeah. I don't think Connor Rodgers wants the Jets to have a good quarterback. I feel like
No,
if
that's
the
right.
Jets
I
ever had
disagree.
successful, the Jets were ever successful, he'd be out of a job. Like I feel like he
Saying to be no content?
The turmoil is what keeps Badlands, the second best Jets podcast out there, employed.
No,
You do a post-game show for a Tim Boyle start and come back to me.
Yeah. No, we need
No,
a twist. We need a twist ending for Connor Rodgers. You've been doing the same material for the 2 decades now.
these very
let's have
Can't
a
get
good
over
team.
the hump.
Yeah.
These
Can't
very
win an Emmy.
Jets that we're talking about, Breece Hall ran for over 1,000 yards on this Jets team in 16 games on these Jets.
Yeah.
That's like Hall of Fame type stuff.
He looked more explosive to me, Connor, as well, certainly compared to the previous 2 years.
He's finally healthy
Yeah.
now. He's got his legs under him. It would
Yeah.
be a bad time to just give up on Breece Hall. That's what I wouldn't
Yeah.
understand. But there'll be a ton of suitors if they ultimately do.
Could they trade him? Could they transition tag? Or,
You wouldn't
know,
get anything.
ta-
The transition tag would open it up that you can only match. You'd have to franchise tag
If
him.
you franchise
but
tag
who
him
would,
and-
Yeah.
who would trade that level of assets for a
Yeah.
running back? They're just
Yeah.
in a place where it's.
It feels like it's not the most well-run organization.
Things are.
The more that I peel back the layers.
I don't know
be
about
honest
that.
with you.
All of a sudden, I'm questioning the plan.
Yeah, suddenly.
Oh, at least
Next
Aaron
thing
Aaron
you
Glenn will be
know,
back.
Suddenly, all the confidence I had in the Jets organization is starting to
Listen,
wither away.
I might not be
Geno
smashing the
Smith will be
over-win total.
handing the ball
Oh,
to
yeah.
Breece Hall on the
Bring
Jets.
Geno
The
back.
return.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone's leaning in
return.
nostalgia right now.
The
Yeah.
Let's go
comeback
Geno
kid.
Smith and
Geno-
green and white again.
Aaron Rodgers come back. All's forgiven, Aaron Rodgers.
All right, Kenneth Walker. Good time to be a free agent. He is 25 years old, but man, he's playing his best football right now, Lawrence. And this could be a guy that is cashing in at the right time.
Yeah, his two main biggest things, really, ever since he's come into the league, was the injuries.
Yes.
Then it was the year after he came, or maybe 2 years after, Zach Charbonnet came into the fold. And now we've seen him these past few games without Charbonnet. We've seen that they heavily relied on him. We saw Sam Darnold throw for over 345 yards in that NFC Championship game, but that space was opened up by those runs.
Right.
Kenneth Walker making people miss, showing what he could do. So if he does get out there on another team and he gets the opportunity to get a guaranteed 17 to 22 touches per game, he's never going to get that with Zach Charbonnet. That'll change his fantasy landscape greatly.
Sure. He's got 24 career games where he's had at least 18 touches. He's averaging 108 yards from scrimmage in those games. I like the over on his rushing attempts prop, by the way, in the Super Bowl. But I think the injury to Zach Charbonnet makes this more interesting because I think the idea was that they were probably going to move on from Ken Walker in the offseason and he'd be a free agent. But again, given that Zach Charbonnet tore his ACL and tore it late in the season.
You might have to bring him back.
I
Yeah.
think you might have to bring
Yeah.
him back, especially, by the way, if the Seahawks win the Super Bowl and Ken Walker's a big part of that. Feels weird to move on from
Yeah.
a guy, especially for a franchise that looks like it's going to have an ownership change here in the next, So I don't know. It just feels like they're not going to want to rock the boat, especially if they win this, given the depth and, you're losing Klint Kubiak. I kind of feel like the Seahawks figure out a way to bring Ken Walker back.
For all the shortcomings of the quarterback free agency class, Jay, the running back class, assuming these guys aren't tagged, is pretty solid. Travis Etienne is next up on our board under Liam Cohen, another guy that had a really, really strong year. A little older than Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, but still in his prime.
Yeah, one of the quieter 1,100 rushing yards,
Yes.
13 touchdown seasons you'll see. He had such a strange season. Coming in, it was like, is he even going to be the starter? Like, there were reports about Tank Bigsby, and then he gets traded,
Right.
and then Bashal Tootin kept on waiting for him to emerge. But look, he's got the relationship and the rapport established with Trevor Lawrence going back to Clemson. Liam Cohen, one of the best run game designers in the league, and I think we kind of perhaps forget a little bit about it because they went out in the first round. This is one of the best offenses in the league over the second half, so I think that they will just want to run it back, and if they do, then Travis Etienne, I think he projects to largely replicate what he did this year. And the other good thing with Etienne is that he's able to stay healthy, which has been a problem in his career.
Without a doubt.
I think the Jaguars move on from Etienne. I think Bashal Tutin's going to be on a lot of sleeper lists next year. If you look at the advanced rushing metrics, and the Jaguars are one of the more advanced teams in terms of looking at analytics, looking at underlying data. Their co-owner, Tony Khan, owns True Media, which is a big data analytics company. Travis Etienne was like below average in like so many underlying metrics, and I feel like they try to get out ahead of it.
They kept on using him though.
I understand. I understand. Like he was quote good. I'm just saying as they sit here, 27 years old, has had some injury history. I'm just saying, and they have a young running back that they like. I don't think they pay. I think somebody's going to be willing to pay Travis Etienne more than the Jaguars. I think he's on a different team next year.
Okay.
Another guy coming off a monster season, Lawrence, Javonte Williams. I mean, this is one where it feels like for both parties, a return would be best to Dallas. Javonte really got his legs back under him in that Cowboys offense.
And this is a guy, myself included, I think he'd have been in a committee at best. He goes on to have his best year with the Cowboys, 1,200 rush yards, 11 touchdowns, running back 11 in fantasy points per game. So he was a guy you started every week once you figured out, like, hey, we got to start him. We didn't get the we didn't get the emergence from the rookie, Jaden Blue. Javonte Williams took it by the bullhorns, and I think I agree with you, Connor. You got to bring him back. He was a vital part of the offense, an offense that we thought was just going to throw the ball every play, but they really were reliant on Javonte Williams.
Yeah, in theory that makes sense, but with the Cowboys, they traded Micah Parsons. Like, you never know. I mean, again, they got 1,000 yards out of Rico Dowdle the year before, and they let him go. We all thought,
also a free agent.
Right, also a free agent, Rico Dowdle. He's definitely going to move on. He wasn't happy about the fact that after he has a couple of 200-yard games, they still let Chuba Hubbard back into the fold.
He had Chubler envy.
He did have Chubler envy.
Chubby envy.
Yeah. No, it's not good. And there's a chance we'll be talking to Rico Dowdle. There's a chance Rico Dowdle will become a friend of the show later this week.
Were you?
Yeah. Do you have chubby envy?
Yes.
Man, Jay, you can ask him that.
That's a great question.
You asked him that.
Yeah,
but Rico Dowdle quietly back-to-back years with over 1,000 yards. Had two different games of 200 more yards, scrimmage yards. Like, here's the list. Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Rico Dowdle.
Right.
The only 4 running backs that had multiple games of 200 more yards from scrimmage. So, like, in the right opportunity, Dowdle's pretty interesting. He just doesn't seem to have the national cachet of some other running backs.
Plenty of talent in this class. Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad White, J.K. Dobbins, Tyler Algier, Isaiah Pacheco, all also in this running back free agency class. And still to come, we're sticking with the running backs in last call. Find out who we're betting to lead the Super Bowl in rushing.
Is interesting, as is Dobbins, who was healthy. It was good when he was healthy. That's just.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
Oh, the crown is yours. It's yours.
Yeah.
It's
Time for
covered
last
in
call.
sourdough, and it's yours.
And it can be yours if you want to bet on the Super Bowl rushing yards leader, Jay. Kenneth Walker is the favorite at minus 160, so he's the runaway favorite. Ramondre Stevenson is the closest at plus 245. What do you think of this board?
I'm going to take Travion Henderson at 20-1. I understand that he has been sidelined a little bit relative to Ramondre, but the Patriots have been leading in all these games. I think Travion is the type of guy you like to bet on as a long shot because he's so high variance with the ability to break a 70-yarder.
Yeah, that would be my choice as well. I just think you're right. He's the guy that has the best chance to break off a couple of long runs. Having said that, if we're not going to do it, I think Ken Walker at minus 100 he's the favorite for a reason, right? I mean, we just talked about this. He's in every game in which he's gotten at least 18 carries, he averages over 100 yards from scrimmage. I think they're going to want to be conservative. I think they're going to want to run the ball. Ken Walker also has the ability to sort of break one. So as opposed to Travion and Ramondre, who are going to split carries along with Drake May, Ken Walker should get the majority of the work for the Seahawks.
Give me Drake May, man.
I was thinking the same thing.
Plus 565 rushing yards in a game in the AFC Championship where he faced a lot of pressure. Gonna be running, gonna be scrambling. Two good run defenses. So give me Drake May over all the running backs.
I agree. It feels like New England's best play at times can be the Drake May scramble. And if you believe in the fact that they are expected to be trailing in this game, he'll have to do plenty of that. So I like the value, but I agree with you, Matthew. There's a reason Kenneth Walker is a minus 160 favorite.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think
Sorry,
with
misread
May,
my notes. It's minus 160, not minus.
You might have got it at
minus 100.
You're
yeah.
usually
Well, I'm buddies with Mr.
also
King.
not a
Yes.
price.
I'm buddies with Mr. King.
VIP crown
Yeah,
price.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I think the other thing with May is that, to your point, like he will likely be running for his life a little bit as whoever tears around Will Campbell on the left side, Drake May, is going to be trying to run away from them.
That's the point, right? Is that we expect the Seahawks to be able to bring pressure. We expect Drake May to have to be dropping back quite a bit, and so given the struggles of the Patriots offensive line during the playoffs, Drake May could easily, get you to 80, something like that, or have a lot of rushing yards, and it's here where they've shut down Ken Walker. So there you go. That's the whole show. Listen, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We're live at Radio Row all week long. Thank you to the regulars.
Wow.
For Lawrence, Connor, and Jay, I'm Matthew. We will see you tomorrow. Peace out.
But then he saw me stick up for him, and he looked at me, and he's like, whoa, you really talk to these people like this. This is New York. You got to talk to them like
Right,
this.
he's a California guy.
F you is part of the language here. Yo, what's up? It's Chris Sims. It's Chris Sims unbuttoned. Super Bowl 60 in the house.
That's right,
Connor
buddy.
Rodgers is here. He did some extra bench press reps this weekend to make sure his chest looks good.
You betcha.
What's up, man? How you
I'm
doing?
chilling, dude. I'm excited. Jump from one set to the other.
I mean, seriously.
Time to rock and roll. You've been doing the same thing.
Connor just came off the set with Matthew Berry and the fantasy live crew there, and just literally walked over 20 seconds before and was like, all right, let's do this show now.
Open the rundown.
So what's up?
And we got a fun rundown today.
We do. We got lots to
pumped.
talk about.
We do have a lot of good trip. Everything smooth. You were rocking and rolling on PFT at what?
PFT,
right away?
PFT. We got rocking and rolling. 9 o'clock here.
Sure.
Right, which is adjusting to West Coast time, but I'll take it. I mean, again, like waking up at 6:30 in the morning when you're still on East Coast time, you're like, wow, I'm awake. It's 6:30. I'm awake. I can't sleep any longer.
This is the easiest thing ever.
It definitely
like
is.
5:40 natural body clock. Here.
Right, but we'll see how that goes
It's
as the
not gonna
week
end
goes
well.
by, especially,
Yes.
as we know, night times can get a little long and have fun that way. But, man, I mean, San Francisco, I do like the Super Bowl here. I love when you can just walk everywhere, just
Me
like
too.
last year with New Orleans, right?
amazing.
You
Yep.
can walk out and go, okay, here's Radio Row. Ooh, I'm going to this restaurant. Oh, I'm going to meet this person here. And I think that's what's really cool. So for right now, during the week, right, it's a really small little area where a majority of the NFL is all hanging out here and around here. And, it's cool. It definitely is. And then later in the week, we'll make the transfer down to Santa Clara
right.
somewhere
You
down
have a
there.
wild week.
We got a wild week. Super Bowl always, when your company has it, it adds to it, right? And because NBC and we're doing the game and the pregame show, which is a 5.5 hour show, it's a few things of like you find out kind of like today. I'm finding out, we got to do a press conference tomorrow, and like I didn't know that. I didn't know it, so that's on my
you're
schedule.
like speaking to media.
I guess they're bringing the people that are doing the game somewhere
Right.
to answer questions from
It's
the
like
media.
you're a quarterback again.
Right? So it's like you're doing that, right? And then of course we have when you do a 5.5 hour show where tens of millions of people watch it, we're gonna have some rehearsals, and
That's
we got
important.
a rehearsal Friday, a little rehearsal Saturday. They kind of split it up that way. So all that, come on, it's cool as hell. The Patriots, the Seahawks, what we got here, I mean, it's awesome.
Great matchup. And you and I are going to be live here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
At same time every day.
Same time every
We'll be live. I
day,
had
which
to
is
think about
12
that.
West
12
Coast,
Eastern.
3
No, West Coast.
Eastern, 12
I
West
have no
Coast, 3
idea.
Eastern.
I'm
yeah.
just running around.
Don't worry, I'll
Stick
help
a
you
mic
out.
on me. We'll chat. We'll have a good time. We have a really fun last segment today that I hope everyone sticks around for. You and I are going to draft back and forth the best non-quarterbacks in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Best players, most impactful.
Yeah.
I think it's a good lay of land because everywhere, and I understand it, everywhere you go around here, it's like, what do you think of Drake May in this game? What do you think of Sam Darnold?
Too much, all
But,
the time.
God,
I try
can
to
we
say
talk,
this
can
all
we
the
talk
time.
about Devin Witherspoon?
Right, that's what it is.
Or
Right.
Christian Gonzalez?
Right.
Yeah, so that's our
And this
whole
is
purpose.
not and the quarterbacks like you're talking about, they get too much hype all the time
Right.
anyways. This is not one of these Super Bowls. Again, I know Drake May is MVP candidate and all that, but I don't think this is a Super Bowl where it's just all about the quarterbacks. I'm here at the Super Bowl going, no. To me, if anything, it's all about the head coaches. That'd be the first thing I would say. I feel like that's the marquee part of the matchup that's a little different because we're in the era of offense, and I need an offensive genius, and you can't win unless you get an offensive player. And here we are with two guys who just replaced all-time legends coaching 2 years later, right? I mean, we've gone from I replaced Bill Belichick in New England 2 years ago, and then Pete Carroll being replaced, and we're already back in the Super Bowl?
It's insane.
Right? I mean, and then they're both defensive head coaches. Both defensive head coaches where they were like, there's only so many Shanahan and McVays and Ben Johnsons to go around. So, okay, we're in the NFC West. We're not going to find another Shanahan and McVay. We got to find a defensive genius, right, to combat that.
That's right.
And I feel like the same way with New England a little bit. They looked at it, and of course, Belichick and Vrabel playing from Belichick, it kind of feels like he's from the coaching tree. But also of like, hey, we got to deal with Josh Allen. We had to deal with Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins offense.
Right.
We need somebody in there to combat that. And so I really find that to be a fascinating part of the story.
Well, they were bold enough to actually try a counterpunch than doing the same thing. And hiring Mike Vrabel is not bold. He was a head coach of the year and everything like that. But Mike Macdonald, in an era like you said, Chris, where everybody's like offensive genius, offensive play caller in a division, they countered that with the defensive genius. So I think the pathway of how we got here, and then you have the pathway of Drake May, top 3 pick at quarterback, already here in